What's up, Neil?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Welcome to another episode of Don't Shit on the Bus podcast. Everybody, today our guest is Sully, and Sully is a security guard, not a security guard. He's kind of like the security guard. At least we know him from Warped Tour.
He's the man. He's the boss.
He did Warped Tour security. I mean, that's how we know him. And I'm pretty sure he did all the years, like all 20 years, which says a lot about him as a human being and a professional.
He kind of sets the standard of what is expected as far as security goes. You know, he makes sure everyone feels safe. I specifically love working with Sully just because of how good he is at his job.
Yeah, and if you don't know him from Warped Tour, you might know him. Prior to Warped Tour, he did a lot of stuff in the hip-hop world, which is a little bit crazy back in the late 90s. And then more currently, he's done stuff for Lady Gaga, Billie Eilish, and he has a company now, and they work for a bunch of different artists, both on the road and while the artists are at home.
To be honest, no one should know Sully. You know, because if you're doing all the right things, you don't meet him.
If you know Sully, you're suspect.
Yeah, you've been doing the wrong shit. You're going in the wrong areas. You're doing stuff you're not allowed to do, and he's going to be there to fucking stop you.
Speaking of, that is kind of how I met Sully. Sully was, 2008, doing my first Warped Tour. Sully was the guy that was like, hey, you're a photographer that should not be here. Please leave. But he was actually pretty nice, to be honest. It's just kind of scary.
I just imagine that happening. You're just like taking pictures. You're like, all right, I'm just doing, getting my shit. He's like, this massive human being comes up behind you. You're like, holy shit. Scared me. He's like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. You're like, all right, cool, sweet. Bye.
Yeah, he's got like this, I think the right word is candor. I don't know if that's the right word, but he's got this like vibe where he's like happy and nice, but at the same time, he's like, do what I say or else.
Yeah, he just handles business.
Yeah.
And he's so good at it that it's like, he can be polite, but also be stern. You just accept it. And you're just like, okay, yes, that's what I'm doing. I'll do that. Okay, bye.
No, agreed. And doing security in this industry can mean a lot of different things. For me, as a photographer, like I mentioned, it means, I talk to security when I'm going into a photo pit or when I'm working with an artist and want to know where I can't photograph maybe the artist, or just to kind of, hey, if I need help, the security guard probably knows what's going on sometimes. But Neil, your experience with security is totally different. I mean, I'm crew, you're artist. What do you rely on security for?
Honestly, anytime we have to go anywhere in the crowd or into an area which can be a little bit unsafe, you do the things that they ask of you when they ask you to do them, just so that they can do their job correctly and keep everyone safe. And really just, they know everything that's going down. They know all of the risk that is involved with certain areas. They make sure to mitigate that risk and keep everyone safe. Everyone, the patrons and the artists and the staff, they're the backbone of the whole event.
Unless you're in Russia.
And then they will kill you.
What did they say in Russia when we got in trouble? They're like, don't talk to security guards. I can't do an impression.
Well, the security guard came in and Jeremy was like standing on a couch and the security guard came in and he goes, get down. And we're like, there's no windows in this room. How does he know that he's up there?
Yeah, they like opened the door and came into our enclosed dressing room and knew what Jeremy was doing. So we started looking for cameras.
And we didn't find any, which is the other weird thing. And we were like, holy shit, they're going to kill us. And then we played the show and left.
What if their tactic was they just opened the door randomly and then found something that was wrong, and they're like, don't do that.
They're like, every American band that's been here has stood on that couch. We're going to freak them out.
They like leave the room, and they're like high-fiving their friends, like, got him.
Dude, he was up there. We got him. They're like, let's have some vodka. Let's leave.
And Neil is saying these things, which are stereotypes, but also they are actually things that happened to us when we were on a train in Russia.
I'm not saying any of this because I haven't been to Russia and experienced this firsthand, but this is real.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't drink with them or drink vodka with them, like it was like kind of like a slap in the face. And I drink a lot of vodka and it was hot. It was the best vodka I've ever had.
That is true. We took a train from Moscow to St. Petersburg, and on the train, we just had no idea what was going on. But once we got there, we realized that this train was hot, very low, just the essentials. It was definitely getting us from point A to point B, and that's about it. And there was a shirtless, large Russian man drinking vodka the whole time.
And eating warm cold cuts. I don't think cold cuts are ever supposed to be warm, but they were.
It's in the name.
He ate them. I also ate them because I was scared of him. They also had the bathroom from the movie Saw also on the train.
Yeah, it was on wheels. It was really convenient.
Yeah, it was great. And honestly, after going in there, I know that I'm completely safe from COVID. So
yes, that's where you got your immunity. That being said, we thought this episode was an essential part to touring musicians and people who work in the music industry, because everybody has to deal with security or speak with them. I shouldn't say deal. You just have to talk to them at some point during their day. And it's a lot easier to do your job, especially me as a photographer, when you get along with security and you know what's going on in their head, you know where they come from and what their goals are for the day. So that was kind of the thought process behind this episode. And Sully's the man.
Thanks for doing it, Sully. You're the fucking man. Enjoy the episode.
But before we actually go, we got one patron. We have a patron.
Go.
We have a patron.
We're leaving. We're on this Russian train.
All right, Morgan, thanks for signing up this week on our Patreon. Get on the bus because we're about to hang out with Sully. To me, Sully, you just stick out as like the Warped Tour guy in my head.
Yeah, I think that's my forte in life right now. To tell you the truth, it never planned to be that way. When I first met Kevin Lyman a long time ago, it was I needed a job for the summer, so. But yeah, I'm proud of that. I love that. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you kept Neil safe all those years.
I mean, Warped Tour is like one of those things where it's like you're in a parking lot, and the only thing that keeps you safe are people like you doing your job. You know, it's like. There's a fence that's a chain link fence, which if anyone really wanted to get over it, they probably could. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, a lot of situations, you talked a little bit earlier, you know, you said you didn't really think that when you met Kevin Lyman that this would be like what you would be doing and what you'd be known for. It's like, I feel like so many things in my life have been like that too, where it's like some of the most important things you just start doing because of necessity. And then it kind of morphs into this thing that becomes a career or a massive kind of thing you're known for, you know?
That's exactly it. I mean, when I got into entertainment security in general, this was about 5 years before I ever met Kevin. I fell into it, man. I was out of the Marines and needed a job, you know, and sort of fell into event staffing and, you know, local bodyguard work and that kind of stuff. And, you know, quite frankly, I get in trouble when I say this by my peers, but I realized this is an industry I could conquer because unfortunately, a lot of stereotypes are true about it, especially back then. We're talking about 1989, you know, it was a lot different back then. And then as I got into it and meeting people like Kevin, who really just like gave me this huge toy and set me free, right? And it was the crowd management Olympics every single day. You know, and people had never seen it, and people in my industry that had never even gone out to look at it had no idea what it's like to roll into an empty parking lot at 5 a.m. and throw on that huge show. You know, in the heydays, we did some huge shows, 32,000 people. That show still started at 7, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
Then the crowd management problems that came with it, you know, pretty wild. So it really kept me in love with this industry is what it did. So
I just picture you rolling up in your golf cart. It's not a golf cart. Well, it's a golf cart.
Man, don't call that a golf cart.
What?
Don't call that a golf cart, man.
I'm like offensive unintentionally. You know, that's the closest thing I have a name for of it in my head. What's the correct term for it?
That is a Kawasaki mule.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Rolling up in the mule. Radio on, like sunglasses, hat, like another dude that could also throw me 20 feet. Like, and I'm like, I'm safe. Look at them. And you guys look intimidating, which is good. But once you get to know you guys, you're just so kind.
You know, that's sort of what you have to do to be part of my crew. You know, I'm a little bit of a different standout in this business. And that's what my company Waterloo's all about is, and it's because we're all guys that have come from some pretty intense stuff. So this is fun, man. Like we are not getting shot at. I mean, in this business, I worked for Def Jam in the early 90s, man. Yeah. It was dangerous. The Warped Tour in the beginning was dangerous.
Oh, wow.
You know, we're just having fun. You know, we're just getting it done. And, you know, it's brutal work, but you got to find those guys that love music and want to be out there, right? I mean, that's what it's all about.
What are some of the like prerequisites to kind of be in your crew?
You know, it's funny. I was just asked this question the other day by doing a thing for Kevin at his class. You know, you need to have security background, but to me, more important than, you know, like I get these college people in the CIA and all this stuff. I'm like, go get a corporate security job and make good money. Yeah. Don't play around with what I do, you know? You have to have a security background. And my best guys, Bobby D, who was out there on Warped Tour with us, and MJ, man, they come from event staffing. And that's probably the lowest end of security. But you're taking care of kids. You need to know what you're doing. And you come across these guys who are karate experts. They're this, they're that. They can shoot a guy from a mile away. I've yet to find a use for that at a concert. You need to understand, and you need to understand music. I was a kid going to see, it's funny, man. I was just watching a Black Sabbath video, and man, I used to get thrown out at every concert I went to as a kid. We're talking like in the 80s, going to see heavy metal bands. And my big sister, she used to have to take me because they thought she'd stay out of trouble. So, and like some great stuff, Robin Trower and just like all kinds of great musicians. But I don't care what kind of music it was. I was getting thrown out. I was that kid, You have to understand what music does to people, right? And that's the biggest thing with my guys. So as we've gotten more into, we do threat management and we protect stars in their homes and stuff. So that takes some a higher level. It takes somebody that's got some police background overseeing the guys, personally overseeing it. When we go to bodyguards, I go to my friend Anton, who I've known since back in I was working for DMX and Jay-Z, and he was 50 Cent's guy when they were relevant, to tell you the truth. And And, this guy has turned into a great bodyguard. It's all he does, and they're not cops. They're not this. They're just guys that are great bodyguards. So in that realm, that's when it gets real serious. And it's a different thing, and when you're working at concerts, you're supposed to be nice and smiling and taking care of people. When you're bodyguarding, it's a little different story. So, and then you get into the realm of blending them all when you go into a live show, so.
Yeah, from our end, or like, trying to teach it to people, we just think of it as security. But from your world, the specific parts of it, and you're like, okay, well, there's concert security, there's outdoor festival security, there's bodyguards, there's all these different levels of things that kind of fall into your category.
And enough people in our business even my business don't understand that. You always hear like the venue guys or a festival guy, oh, those tour guys didn't know anything, but they have no idea what the production is or who they're working for or what the demands are on them, Yeah. So, and there's a lot of conflicts like that in all of production, which is another thing we do on the road, is dealing with that kind of stuff. Crew guys getting in fights and stuff at load in and load out.
Well, I'm sure Neil really appreciates it, and you can talk more to it, especially because of the nature of your band, Neil. But, when you're at a concert and you can see the security guards taking care of your fans, what's that feel like? Like Sully's talking about, just understanding that world is such a big part of it.
Well, I mean, in our situation specifically, we roll with a security guy that can go and kind of talk to the local crew to make them understand what they're about to get into. Because like he was saying, a lot of times you don't really understand what's about to happen, especially if you're just like a local security guard, you work in the door, you're used to working like certain events, like a band like A Day to Remember comes through. I think that like almost the majority of the venues that we played, we've broken the crowd surfer over the barrier record in a song or something like that. Like we've been told that many of times. And so it's kind of necessity to kind of have those people that are willing to go in there and talk to these local security guards and be like, look, this is about to get crazy. This is how you got to handle it. This is what you got to do, blah, 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 whatever. And it means the world to us as a band, because we know we can do what we do. We can put on a show and we can kind of draw out this energy from a group of people, and everyone's going to be safe. No one's going to leave hurt, and everyone's going to be like, man, that was the best show I've ever been to. I had so much fun. I wasn't stopped from doing what I wanted to do, but I also felt safe and taken care of whenever I went over the barricade or whenever I was just there existing, It's a lot.
I think you nailed it right there, and that's all the real responsibility of a tour guy, and even if it's you're still at a level where a production manager is doing it and stuff, just letting the locals know, because people understand what local security is. These guys are, your best of them, the best and worst are going to be at that club level. Club level, it's either you got people who are grossly unqualified or people who are dangerous, or the combination of the both, So that's like hugely important, and then in festivals, geez, like those people are like church crews and stuff, so not knowing what's going on and like having GWAR on tour, and here in actually my hometown in Nashville, the security company had they had a church group in front of the stage that GWAR was going to play at, and MJ ran over there and I explained to him what was going to happen, and luckily we changed. Actually, I think we took them all out, and I think we just did it, but. It's hugely important. Those people really would have been destroyed, and people think, oh, well, they're security guys. They're not security guys. It's
more from like your end, being somebody who's been through so many different levels of security. So when people go to concerts that are as a fan, or when somebody is on tour with a band like Neil's and you see I don't know, they're usually wearing like yellow shirts or something. Can you explain where those people come from and just so people understand like why these things happen, I guess, or like who these people are?
Event staffing is actually how I got started in entertainment, and it's a delicate balance, you got these security companies, they're trying to go out and make money and stuff, and they're getting just screwed on prices, right? So they got to reach out, and if they're a normal employee, they're not making any more than minimum wage, especially at a festival when you throw in the hours they're working, or their groups. And, over the years, I found some great groups that actually went and got licensed and stuff, but a lot of these people aren't licensed, or they'll go and get licensed, but this isn't what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it to the best ones actually are the people that are out there doing it because they want a new TV for their kids' room because they're having fun doing it. But man, when you got people out there making a minimum wage, trying to do this kind of work and pay bills, like, man, I just think it's a dangerous combination. And I've been there. My first job in security, I made $3.25 an hour. And that was minimum wage back then, I think. And, I think we'd work bars. We got paid like $45 and we could drink beer afterwards and carouse, So at least we got to have fun. But now people don't even get to have fun while they're working. It got so much more serious.
Yeah.
So then you got those guys, you got some supervisors that take it seriously, and this is what they do. Then you have this whole group of people that don't really want to be there. And it sort of goes into that, I just got to make money person. They don't like cons. They don't like music. They don't want to sleep in a tent or in a hall, So there's so many different dynamics going into it. Your best case scenario is getting someone who's just brand new and has a radio, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
To bypass all that stuff and gets to somebody who's who's like a supervisor that's got some vested interest in being out there. And, Bonnaroo's my little home festival here. And those security guys out there, man, they live for that. I couldn't imagine that being the highlight of my life. Or like Coachella, to tell you the truth, man, that stuff's brutal to me. I don't get it, but they love being out there, and they're good at doing what they're doing. They understand festival, and they on their time, they pay to be there. A lot of these guys, they pay their own way out there. If they don't want to eat more than just a burrito from a truck in the morning, they're spending their own money. It's not an easy life.
It's good to hear about, because being a photographer, I obviously have to communicate with security and work with them.
And you guys are like the sworn enemies. Sorry, I interrupted you, but you guys are sworn enemies, right?
Yeah, I mean, that, like, for me and for a lot of people who listen to this that are photographers, we're like always in the way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't blame them either. Like, hey, they're trying to catch crowd surfers, or they're trying to make sure we're going to the right places. And photographers are literally trying to get everywhere to get photographs. And it helps me so much, even the stuff you said already, to understand where these people are coming from, what information they've been given, why they're there for the day, so that when I talk to them for the few seconds I do, I make sure I approach the situation correctly. And I don't know, I don't think these are bad people, but people always seem to say, hey, I had a hard time with security at the venue. I had a hard time with security at the festival. And I really want to try, and maybe you could tell me in a few words, like, what's going on there? Is there miscommunication, or what? Do you probably see it all the time?
I think it's a lack of understanding. That security guy that might be being a dick to you has probably been on post for a solid 10 hours, especially at a festival. That's like the worst case scenario. In the rain, in the mud, they're hungry. Some guy was just over here giving them shit because he wasn't allowed to go to the VIP area, especially areas you're trying to access. You're going into barricades, which is the hollowed ground. It's the only place a security guy is really allowed to make a decision, right?
Yeah.
I know it's the only place I do get to, like back in the day. What happens in the barricade is serious work. So there's all that. And then there is I've worked with a lot of photographers out there on Warped Tour, and there's a handful of great ones, but man, there's some horrible people out there that just because they're carrying a camera, they just get involved with stuff. They are rude. and a lot of them, I always say this about Warped Tour, it's full of a lot of people who treat the right people great. But if you're not a right person, man, they treat you like dirt. Being a security guy on that tour all those years, man, I'm not only being a victim of it, I watched it every single day, so a lot of that goes into it, and then throw in the, oh, I don't want to be here, or, oh, I just got off another job and now I'm out here working at some club and I'm at 57 and I don't want to be here. Matlock's on. They're just people.
Yeah.
And the lower they are in the realm of training. Back in the old days on Warped Tour, it's pretty common. We called them piss bombs. Somebody would piss in a big old 32-ounce cup and throw it at the guys in the barricade. Like when Pennywise hit the stage, I'd be like, good luck down there. Like, I ain't going near that shit.
Yeah.
It can be pretty demoralizing, to be a security guy and you're supposed to put up with all this abuse. Then you throw in the fact that a lot of these guys work for, I'm sorry, I'm going to use bad language here, fucking assholes. And this goes into my thing of the stereotype of security guys. A lot of them are out there. I've had contracts where the owner of the security company was not allowed to be at the Vans Warped Tour.
Wow.
His people were great, but as soon as that guy was around, it was a problem, yelling at his people and making things worse. We'd have everything under control working with his guys, and all of a sudden, I'm going to tell a quick story. I was working this thing years ago and I was doing some stuff with Santana. I'm at the front gates. They came bringing these big burly security guys, drag this guy out to the front gates, and the owner of the company goes up and goes, "You're going to remember me, motherfucker," and punches this guy like 4 times in the face. This guy was a monster, so that's what you're dealing with.
That's terrible.
Right? And that's an old school story, but there's still plenty of old school people out there.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm not I just saw the end of it. And I know the guy was probably being an asshole and, who knows what he did, but I know he didn't deserve that, especially if the owner of the company's doing that. What are his employees doing?
Right.
That's kind of Neil, you'll definitely be able to talk to this, but that's kind of our goal with the podcast is like, we acknowledge that there's a lot of the older type of people on tour still, but we feel that it's getting better. Like as a community, as a touring world, it's like more open, more welcoming, better. There's not people beating each other up as much, at least.
Depends what camp you're in.
I think it's just like more visible, right? Like back in the day, you could go and punch someone in the face 4 times. Not every person in the crowd had a camera phone. And so only the people that witnessed it are the people that knew it even happened. And then from there, it's like whoever's willing to talk about it, which is probably not many people if they're doing it, if they're all working for them and whatever. So now it's a lot different. There's a lot of accountability, a lot of situations that are kind of being, and I think that that's like making the situation better, but it's also making the job of a security guard a lot harder because, they have a lot on their plate. And like you said, it's a lot of people they're paid very little with very little experience. And they're like, hey, if someone gets through here, like with a gun or a bomb or something crazy, it's on this person's shoulders. And so they have a lot of people that they have to take care of. And in my head, I'm always trying to be nice to those people because I understand that it's not a fucking easy job. Like having that responsibility of all these people's safety and security, I wouldn't want that. That freaks me out, and to have these people that are willing to go and do this because of their necessity of their life situation. They're like, man, I could do this. I'm a bigger person. I could do this, or I don't really have a choice. I want to put food on my table for my kids. I'm going to do this. It's like, you got to have respect for those people that are willing to go out there and put themselves in contact with all these different situations. And I think you said it correctly. I think it's a lot of both, like people always are like, oh, security guard was mean to me. It's like, bro, did you have your pass? Did you have the correct credentials? Did you have like all these things that are necessary? Were you trying to go somewhere you weren't supposed to be? Were they just doing their job? Were you being rude? Like a lot of these questions, it's like, you can't ask these questions in the heat of the moment of this person was rude to me or mean to me. But a lot of times it's not the person. They're just doing their job. Look, I hope that with this podcast, a lot of these people are like, hey, maybe I should go into this situation with a little bit more empathy, understanding what these people are going through, knowing how hard it is for them to do this job and how much responsibility is on their shoulders, and be like, look, I get why they won't let me through here. Or maybe I will wait an extra 5 minutes so someone can come and help me get through because I don't have the right credentials or whatever. I hope that that's part of this too,
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was going to, if I could jump in on that, and that's hugely important on your guys' side. And people ask how I do all these crazy tours and shows with like Terror and, Pennywise, and I'm friends with all these guys. It's because there's an understanding with the band too. And I can't tell you how many times band members have saved my ass, Warped Tour and in rap shows. I mean, I worked with rappers a long time ago with the hip hop cop days, Noriega and Murder Inc. and all that. And I wouldn't have been able to survive if it wasn't for the artists understanding what I did,
Right.
And that's hugely important.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what Neil was saying and what you're saying, could you maybe just lay it out, like your security? Let's just say you're doing not Warped Tour, but you're working at, I don't know, you're going into any situation where you're doing security. Obviously, your main goal is to be security. But what does that entail for you? Like, what are you looking out for on a daily basis? What are you making sure does or doesn't happen? Just so.
Yeah, me personally, and there's different styles out there, but
We got you. We want you because you're,
let's make sure nothing happens to make sure there's no lawsuits. A lot of security guys are out there. Let's make sure our asses are covered when lawsuits happen. Mm-hmm. And I think that really changes the whole aspect of what you're doing, So if I'm we'll use I'm head of security out there at Soundset, which was a huge hip hop festival for years. My daily every day would be, because you're following a bunch of different plans. I'm looking after not only security, but you have police on the outside, you have traffic control. I mean, you have all this stuff, medical, so it's really the ability to follow a bunch of different plans. So, and that's pretty much what I do. And it's just maintaining that plan. So me personally, before there's ever any kids around, I'm walking around talking to security guys, making sure they understand what we're doing, because I know they came in early and some guy was like, they probably never worked before, wherever we are. I'll stand at this gate and they need a pass to come in. I've heard those deployments before. Stand at a gate and they need a pass to come in, and the guy just walks away. Mm-hmm. And this person is just like, hopefully I'm just begging they turn to me and go, well, what's the pass look like? If I got that, I'm like, we're going to have a great day. So it's just little stuff I think like that. Maintaining security guards at festivals, man, making sure the security guys around you know who the players are, right? Yeah. When we roll into a camp, with Billy, we roll in. There's a lot of people that are going to come and go, and we don't necessarily want to stop them every time to look at their layout. So it's a continual, reinforcing that. So now at the level I'm at, I got guys that are doing that, right? So I got MJ out, and the first thing in the morning, he's the crowd guy and meeting the early security guys, briefing the supervisors. I'm following his plan. I'm making sure the security company's following the plan, right? That's the most important part. And a lot of times when they're short, it's not because of them. It's because the promoter, so the promoter said, we don't need that. Sully doesn't need that. We don't need that,
Right.
So it's all about really following a bunch of different plans. It's, walking the venue, looking at the big picture of the venue, right? Looking at, what's this, a little puddle? Well, a little puddle can actually cause quite a huge stampede, and it's wild. And there's videos of it, of people trying to avoid walking through not even a 1-inch puddle. And all of a sudden people start panicking and people are falling over and getting run over. It's just, that it's that basic stuff like that.
That's wild.
I always hang out and watch stagehands, luckily like this rock and roll crews aren't let's smoke a joint on the loading dock anymore too much, especially when you get into the arena world. But, let's see what the stagehands are doing and what kind of games are they playing, concessions people, you got to get out there and look and really know what's going on in the venue. I'm one of the few venue guys that, at our teams, as soon as our buses stop, our guys are out working, because you got to know the players.
There's a lot that goes
like I said, it is. It's huge, and then you get into as the day go on, meetings, and then all of a sudden there's meet and greets, and all of a sudden the artist you're with wants to go to the skate park down the corner, which is all real stuff. All of a sudden you got to go, oh shit, I got to go.
You got to pull your guys. You got to go do something totally different, whatever you're in the middle of. Man. We've run into that a lot.
It's crazy. Hey, get down there and see who's there, right? I mean, it's 2 blocks from the arena. I'm sure there's going to be kids there. And then probably the last thing is getting people used to my style for the day. A lot of security guys go in there and I'm the boss. I'm the best security guy in the world. I lifted a car once. We go in and we're part of a team. And that's what I say in my security meetings is we're not the best security guys in the world. We're the best at this show, and we're the best for this crowd. And we are the key to making this day easy. I always tell jokes during my security meetings, just not necessarily anything, just so I can see their reaction. And a lot of times when I'm in a suit and tie and people in like police uniforms and clipboards, they'll write that joke down. It's like, man, we're going to have a horrible day, right?
Yeah.
So I just try to get a feel for them too, so I can go to the guys going, man. And like on Warped, that was a big part of it too. Like, well, man, because those guys, we're talking about a show during the day.
You got so many people every day.
Yeah. And during the day, during the week. I mean, this is part-time work. So that's what kind of staff you're getting, right? That's why at Warped, it always seems like every security guard we had was older than me. I was in my 50s. So
what's the difference working with someone with such celebrity, like, I don't know, Billie Eilish or something like that? What's the difference of working with a celebrity versus like doing a festival like Warped Tour? Like, what are the differences in the security protocol?
Yeah, oh man, it's, it completely switches. You go from being out there and all you care about is taking care of the crowd and sort of letting the musicians fend for themselves. And if they need us, we're going to be there to help, to you're just taking care of this person that's instantly noticeable, right?
Yeah.
When I started with Billy, I mean, I was on tour with Five Finger Death Punch. Started with Billy, went on an airplane, landed in Germany and started with Billy. And like, I'd never heard of her, right? But every place we went, we couldn't go anywhere. And we were staying like she didn't have a label yet or anything. We're staying at a Holiday Inn Express and taking Ubers. Yeah. But like literally we'd walk into a little vegan cafe and 10 minutes later, there'd be 400 people in the streets, so it's way more, you got to be way more covert. It's way more about the plan for just one person. And then on the liability side, I mean, that's the top of the chain, right? Everyone's going after the artist, then the promoter, then the venue, then the security companies. So you got to look at that aspect too when you get into the arenas and that kind of, even when you go to a festival, we look at our worlds to make sure that her show is not going to impact this crowd and it's our fault that there's a mistake.
Right. So you're constantly, like, your first priority is like obviously keeping her safe, but then in those situations, like, you have to like be aware of where the potential lawsuit is or how to protect from any of these different liabilities. Man, that's so much responsibility. It's like, even talking about this stuff is
it is. It's huge. But luckily when you get into that level, and Warped eventually got there where I had a team out there and you guys all worked with those guys. My arena team on Billy's tour that starts next year, we're going to have 4 guys that are just dedicated to the arena part, 2 bodyguards, and that lets me do all that stuff, look around and and doing that, and different acts, when I worked for the Beastie Boys way back when, I used to have to do pre-existing building damage walks, because
just to see where like someone could blame you for something, like a show, like your show did this. It's like, no, your wall was already falling apart.
Yeah. Broken sinks, toilets, you name it, because Beastie Boys was a wild show and they were only putting them in crappy arenas that wanted new bathrooms. Right. So it depends on the act, you got to adjust. I did an ICP show and they'd say, hey, do you want to take that ice up? And some places didn't take the ice up, and, after all that Faygo.
What am I missing?
Well, ICP, they spray about 1,400 cases of Faygo soda on the crowd.
Oh, wow.
So, you got to look at that big thing because that's something that's going to come up in a lawsuit. Broken chairs. Oh, that was a huge thing in the 90s, especially with bands like Pearl Jam and Nirvana and everything. Everybody would get together and count the broken chairs at the end of the night, So
it's like, no matter what, like, every artist has to have a different approach. Right? Like, what's going to work for a Day to Remember is not going to work for Billie Eilish, obviously.
Exactly.
And then what works for even what's works for Billie Eilish is not going to work for like Ariana Grande or like someone else that's like, even like on the outside looking in, like they seem very similar in the sense that they're both female pop stars that probably have a massive fandom, but it's like Billie Eilish, she exists in this internet celebrity that's like, everything is known immediately. Like you're saying, you show up to a vegan restaurant, like someone gets on a forum and they're like, Billy's at the vegan restaurant. There's 400 people there.
Her hair broke the internet last week.
Yeah.
I mean, like crazy stuff like that. And, it's everybody, we have constant people coming by our house, and it's never ending, and we have 3 or 4 pretty high profile clients right now. Because of the internet, it makes things really hard,
How has that changed your business? I mean, you've obviously been in this before the internet even was like a thing.
Hugely. I mean, it's made it easier. When I first started touring, like the only person that had a computer on tour was the tour manager.
Yeah.
Or the production manager. And that was at a big road case. The laptops weren't around yet. Right. So in that sense, it's great. I used to have to advance shows. I'd just build folders. And by the end of them, I'd have 20, 30 folders of all this arena information. And it was such a pain in the ass. It was unbelievable. But the drawback is, man, people have access to everything. They can find out addresses. When I first really started signing, I was working with Gaga, and this was pretty early in her career. The internet is not what it is now. Apps weren't around and that kind of stuff. But there was a website called Right Here, Right Now.
Oh God!
And
I can already tell what that is.
Yeah, and like somebody would walk into a restaurant and somebody would be like, "Oh my God, look, Lady Gaga's here." So, that was when I first started. But now, I mean, they've been going through the Bieber thing and all of that. And, like these kids are smart and they got time and they got money, and they, even more important, they have parents that'll let them do it. And that's something that's pretty amazing to me, because I grew up in a different time, and like parents were parents. They didn't let me do anything. But now you got parents that'll drop kids off at, venues at 3 a.m, go to work and pick them up at midnight. We're talking about a show that starts at 7 and is over at 11. That's a long time. So what happens, all these kids just get together and share information. They share what our passes look like. They share what our wristbands look like. I mean, everything. They take pictures of everything, and anything that they think they can use to either get in or get close, so you always have to be on guard. And,
it's crazy too, to try to, it helps understanding where you come from, so people can understand that these things that aren't relatively difficult to do on their end, like, hey, make a pass or something, are such a big deal on your end, because it literally changes your whole day, and it causes a big problem, a big security risk. And it's why, there's a lot of people who tell people to approach the touring industry, especially in the music photography world, a little bit differently. They'll tell people to, sneak in where you can, or jump fences and this stuff. And I'm like a big advocate, and Neil is as well. It's like, hey, you kind of got to play by the rules, because we know what the repercussions are, both on the artist part and the security part. And it really bums us out when people say like, hey, just use this pass and go this way, or do this kind of thing. Cause it's just, it's a lot, man. It really affects people.
And now it's even more important, because we got people blowing up people and shooting up concerts.
Yeah.
So like, and man, it kills me, because promoters always forget, right? And I was thinking it's about maybe a year and a half after the Vegas shooting.
Okay.
Up there in the little Gilroy Garlic Festival, promoter didn't want to have any security in the parking lot and on the fence lines, and some guy cut his way in and shot up the place.
Jesus.
I mean, they forget. I know, man, I get in so much trouble with these kinds of statements, but they're going to forget about COVID too. And I know everyone's like, but they are.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
They forgot about 9/11. They forgot about the Manchester bombing. They forgot about the route, whatever it is, and they will, and it's going to come down. They're going to, they're going to forget about it. And I know everyone's going to say I'm wrong, and we're committed. And I don't know. I've seen it over history. I've been in this business a long time.
Well, it's not anything new, right? It's just another situation. And obviously this has affected our industry immensely. But you're right. When things kind of look remotely normal to people, they're going to continue as business as usual, because that's what we do. We go in and we entertain people, and we're almost forced to forget, right? Like, well, the artists and the concert goers, like that, they're there to kind of escape, right?
That's
like whatever purpose. Bullshit. And as entertainers, they almost have to be like, we got to go out there and smile and be happy and greet every person like it's the first person we've ever greeted, and be stoked. It's like, you have to almost forget. And a lot of times it's really hard navigating those situations. And I think that I'm so thankful for security guards that actually give a shit, like they're there and they care. They're like, the supervisors are telling people, hey, this is important, and we need to be on this shit. Like we can't forget, right? Because everyone else there is there to forget.
Exactly. And that's so important. And they are out there. And I know I just like ripped apart of everything and stuff, but they are out there, and there's promoters out there that care, and there are people who care.
Yeah.
You got to look at the big picture of what we're dealing with, right? And it is, and exactly what you said at the end there about that's why, and that's what crew guys always were the guys that were, and these people that work directly for bands were the people that are working while everyone else is losing. They've gone to an event to not think about all the stupid shit in their lives, right? Mm-hmm. Or to celebrate the stupid shit in their lives.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's great.
It's a crazy, I'm just saying it's a crazy situation, and I can't stress enough. This is one thing I've kind of noticed, and I just wanted to talk to you about. It's like, no one ever told me this when I was younger, and I had to find this out the hard way, but don't take pictures of your pass. If you're lucky enough to go to a show and someone like gave you a pass, don't post it on the internet, and it's like, it's funny that like, I feel weird saying this because it's like, obviously, but it's not obvious, and it's like, you're making people like Sully, their job exponentially harder, right? They have to change the entire pass structure because you just fucked it up and put it all over the internet. Can't do that. That's a huge no-no. Don't
crazy.
Do that.
And you got to look at, I'm just looking at it from an arena aspect, but a huge mega festival aspect, like pass systems cost. We spent on our last, I spent probably, it's close to, when you get artwork and everything, 10, 15 grand on a pass system that you're going to try to stretch out for 2 years. Because once it's worn out in America, you hit South America and you try to stretch it out. But, one person and people think, oh, arena people, they're all pros. They're not. I can't tell you how many times I'm looking up, and that's what we do too. That's another part of the job, is because of the beautiful social media, I find out what everyone's doing and all the scams they're running, because of the internet. But it just takes one guy just thinking, look how cool I am. I'm going to make everybody jealous on the twit face. And, you got to redo a whole pass system, man. It's happened to me a couple times. It's brutal. It's tough because especially when a tour is rolling. Holy crap. And that stuff literally within hours will show up. I've had people take my pass sheets off the wall in the morning, and by the afternoon we got them being sold in the parking lot. It's tough. It's tough.
I don't think that people realize like the little things and how much they really cost and how much damage it really does. Cause it's like we said, to them, it's not much, right? They're excited. They get to brag to their friends. They're like, I get to be backstage. Check it out. It's like,
they don't have ill intention.
Everyone has to be aware that no, right. But I'm just saying, like, I think this is an important thing. We have a security guard on here. We need to be talking about things that, you really don't think about or as a big deal, but it's a huge deal.
Yeah. Agreed.
You got to keep that stuff sacred, keep it safe.
You guys have been on big tours and like early years ago, back to work, but early years of work, we were targeted hard, and we would have people come out and like, hey, can I hitch a ride in your bus? My bus got left. And like, and the guys wake up, they got nothing,
man.
Wow.
That pass system is so important. And even on arena tours, when I was a little young thug kid, man, I knew plenty of my friends, man. You got outside of Bogart's there in Cincinnati, there's a bus or a van, and one security guy watching it that doesn't want to be there. Oh yeah, I got to get this. It's gotten important. It's way more than. Yeah, I know. And then when I first started, the pass was really way more of a way for dudes to get laid and that kind of stuff. But now, man, it is important. It's just it's the key to everyone's safety and security. And we're not just talking about, oh, this person doesn't belong backstage. We're talking about acts of terrorism. We're talking about theft. Now we're talking about goddamn diseases, right?
Yeah.
All based on this pass. And I've had some pretty high level conversations with Vibe Nation, and they're going to want to know who gets off that bus and who is the record label's friend. It's right. Unfortunately, I think some people who like to be fancy at shows are going to be upset for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, I can only imagine. Touring's going to be different, right? Like it's all different. It's like a big reset, It's like when we do come back, it's like a lot of the things that we knew going into this are not going to be the same. They can't be.
No.
Just because of what's going on.
It can't be. And I think it's a good thing in the big picture. I think it's going to take some fun away. But it also, like I said, it's important, and then like with my artists, they don't want anybody around them right now. Even like I'm in what are they called? Live stream.
Yeah.
They don't want extra people, and the director's not allowed to bring his daughter, and it's super secret because we don't want any extra people around. We don't want to have them roll down the window to say hi to their fans. We'd just rather not see anybody.
Right.
It's changing the whole game, especially in my world. And I was really trying when it first started. All of my clients are coming to me, what are you going to do about COVID? I'm like, let me figure it out. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. And you go on the internet, you get everyone's different views, and like I was saying, so we reached out like I did on Work Tour to calm that down. I went to RockMed and like, hey, Gordon, like he's a doctor, right? I think doctors should be fine telling me what to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, use your resources.
Well, it's just such a crazy thing too that even the high level people didn't know what to do, right? It's such a new thing, such a deadly situation that can just get out of control so quickly. It's like, what do you do, right? We don't even the people in charge are like, well, we're still figuring it out. So
yeah, I mean, like we're in a new world, man. Like, I mean, we live in the future. I didn't get my little fly car and that kind of stuff like I thought when I was a kid, but this is the future, man. And this is scary stuff, and there are going to be more. Right?
Yeah, it's true. Well,
so we might as well have a great plan. And
I was just going to say, even if there's like, if it's not the same, these things that are happening, they're not bad. It's probably for the better that we start implementing some of these changes and kind of get control over everything that's going on. And I don't think it's that bad.
No, it is. And I think in our world and being an artist, I mean, like it's got to be horrible. I think about, I've done this for 30 years and as a bodyguard for a long time. And you walk this artist that just gave it all, right? Gave it all for all their fans. And they walk off stage and they're just surrounded by people. And then they walk in the dressing room and there's the label guy and a photographer and stuff. Man, that shit would drive me crazy. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I'd be a horrible artist.
with all the knowledge you have from seeing the artist side and the fan side and the security side, do you think that there's any, like we're trying to get some like practical advice that maybe crew members listening to this or people can have, is there anything you see people do that you're like, hey, this is better, this makes security life easier, or anything that people can improve on that you see as like, I don't know, something that is just wrong in the industry, I guess you would say? I don't know, anything that helps communicating between when I'm on tour and I get in trouble with a security guard, anything along those lines.
Yeah, it's all the stuff I was just talking about, remember who you're dealing with. And also remember there's reasons why there's rules, and a lot of stuff. We were just at the Grammys, the head of security, he can't make a decision at all. It's not his decision, you know? And I think on the crew side, that's a big part of it. I think it's just understand what these guys are doing, and these local security guys aren't your security guy, and they never will be. That's why, I mean, I hope not, because that's what keeps me employed, but they aren't. And then as you get into, like I said, last time I saw a Day to Remember at the Marathon Music Works there, I think it was a year after the Work Tour was over. And, I work with that crew all the time, but they were like so afraid of the crowd. And I was like, look, it's still just a Day to Remember crowd. There's going to be a shitload of crowd surfing, but they're not criminals, man. Right. We're not going to be taking shanks off people. Most of them, if they're underage, aren't going to try to drink. It's a good crowd. That's my thing. It's with almost everybody I work with. I get to know it's a good crowd. There's way worse things you can be doing. So. Right. And with crew guys, with local security guys, try being nice.
It goes a long way. Really does.
Agreed.
It's like with any situation, it's like you kind of hope that speak to a waiter as you would speak to like someone in your family, or speak to a security guard as you would speak to someone that's like in your friend group, and it goes a long way.
And just treat them human.
Yeah. I mean, I've had situations where people have literally like saved me. I've been like stuck outside of like we were in like Download Festival and went for a run. You're in the middle of a fucking country, like
Park.
Yeah, it's just there's nothing out there, right? And then like I realized once you're going for a run, you don't have anything on you. I realized once I'm like out there in the middle of nowhere that I don't have anything. I don't have a pass. I don't have my phone. I'm just like running, right? And you just being nice to someone and really just asking and like going up to them and treating them like a human being, being like, hey, you don't have to believe me, but I'm telling you, like, I'm supposed to be in there. I don't have anything proving that I'm supposed to be in there.
Sure you are, pal.
I can tell you maybe someone to talk to, And it's like, if you're rude to someone like that, they're just like, they don't have to be nice to you. They're like, fuck you. Go figure it out over there.
You're right.
You know,
yeah.
it's like,
I was a local security guy for a lot of years. And even now, like I said, going back to working at Marathon and have my cushy little home gigs, it's, again, it's not that very glorious being a security guy. And the crew guys, if it's just, it's a little bit of respect goes a huge amount of way. Especially because it'll go even further than because they probably have been treated like shit for a lot of times,
Makes me so sad. Yeah, I try to being a photographer, I acknowledge that there's a lot of photographers that don't like security. I love security because they keep me safe and they tell me where I can and can't be. And they're the reason you can shoot in the pit. And I try to introduce myself, make myself known, especially if I'm on tour, go to the security meeting, meet these people just to avoid the confusion later, because it helps hearing a lot reiterated and also learning a lot from you, what these people are going through, what their days everything that happened before the moment they're get the hell out of my way, I'm trying to catch kids. And I don't know, I respect them a lot because I feel like they care so passionately about the show, the good ones. And there's a lot of, they're there doing one of the hardest jobs in the venue, and I just respect that a lot.
And, we appreciate that. It's the people that I got working with me on artist houses and stuff. They're always amazed because right now I'm in the phase where I've really handpicked all my clients, and they know their names. And these guys are like, man, all the years in the business, they never say hi to me and stuff. So, just that little hey, Rashad, what's going on? It makes them feel good. It's like anybody, they're people. They're people too, that's sort of my mantra. Let's start treating people like people and not a keyboard. I think everybody would get along a little better, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
It goes so far. And it's on every side of it, right? Even you go and you meet an artist, don't treat them like they're just some thing, right? Can I get a picture? Can I get this from you? Can I get this? It goes a long way. Hey, how's your day? Even those questions, they go a long way. And same with the photographer, same with security guard. Everyone's there to do the job, and whether they like the job or not, they're trying to just make ends meet, right? If they're there and they're happy and they're like, I like being a security guard, that's cool. It's probably a bonus, but they're there because they need to work, and they have all this life outside of whatever's going on. It's just be nice. It goes so far.
Yeah.
But
in conclusion, just be nice.
Oh, just be nice. Just be nice, which is really funny. Good man. I'm an old school security guy. Did some pretty crazy stuff. And when people see me now, they're like, man, you used to be way meaner. I don't think I was mean.
I think it's a product of the environment. I think back in the day, shit was just crazier, and not because people were like, we want to be crazier. It's just because that's the state of the world. Right. And it's different now, but there's just new threats, new things that are happening that are just different, right? Back in the day, no one was like, we're going to blow this place. Or I don't know, maybe they were, but it just seems I don't know. It just seems like a different world. And I think that even back in the day, you kind of expected to deal with situations like that. You went to a show and the security guard's mean. You're like, yeah, it's a security guard. You're like, yeah, it just is what it is. Just don't fuck with them.
Yeah. And it was a lot different, and it's a lot different now in this sense. And one of the things that I do love about the touring world, it's way more of a team now.
Yeah.
And I think even with the kids and people at shows, there's way more of a spirit of we're coming together. And I know a lot of that's sort of genre specific, and again, back to the Warped Tour, but the early days of going through first Nazi skinheads and then the Christian identity, straight edge kids. I don't know if you guys remember that stuff. It was so intense.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of that stuff. And then finally the crowd said no. Right. And, every day I'd be dealing with these crazy bands over there at that Monster stage or Johnny Emmerich stage, and there'd be some guy in there that's just beating the crap out of everybody. I wouldn't let the local security guys go in there. We'd go in there and real gentle, and basically the crowd would get rid of them. The crowd will let them know that's not going to happen, which is way better than the 90s. Because what happened in the 90s, it turns into Woodstock. Everyone's fighting everybody, and then all of a sudden they're flipping over trucks, right? Yeah. So I think there's way more brotherhood, camaraderie amongst crowds, and definitely amongst tour personnel. There's still some problem crews out there, but
Well, I was just thinking about this. It's we talked about it a little bit earlier, but everyone has a camera phone now, and everyone's trying not to get they're trying to do the right thing because they don't want to get sued. They don't want to get taken advantage of in a situation where it's like, hey, they handled this situation wrong. It's like, no, I didn't handle this situation wrong. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. And it's like, everyone's got eyes on you now. It's like everyone's recording something. Everyone's like trying, like, you know, hey, look at it, they're fighting. Watch this. You know, it's like, how did the security guard handle that in that video? That's up to them. Now you got to be aware of that. You can't do anything stupid because it's all on tape, which is great, but it's also, you know, it's just a different world.
Don't pick your nose. Right? Don't pick your nose. Don't, like, you're going to end up on the internet. That's why all these artists always have segways and all these little scooters and that kind of stuff. I don't get on them because people love a video of a fat security guy falling off a scooter, right? I mean, videos, no matter, especially if you're in an arena, even if you don't see a person with a camera, you are on camera until you walk into a dressing room, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's just how things are now, you know? We got to be aware. And I think, just to reiterate 150%, like, be kind. Go into it thinking about you're that person, right? Just be kind. Especially with security or photographers and stuff like that. It's like, it will go so far. Go meet people, learn their name. Like, do that early. These are the things, like, your job doesn't start when the show starts and you walk in, you start shooting for, like, pictures. Like, that's not when your job starts. And that's everybody in the venue, you know? It's like, your job doesn't start when your job starts. You got to go and meet people and have some FaceTime and be like, hey, I'm a human being too. What's up? Let's get this done together. We're a team now. And use security guards as a benefit. It's a great thing to have people that are there to keep you safe. And if you do your part too, it's just going to be better for everybody. So
you're 100% right. A couple crew guys and a band member being nice to security guys, your crowd's going to have a completely different experience than a band member that's all fuck these guys and, you know, crew guys that are like, I don't need to wear a laminate. Do you know who I am? And, you know, unfortunately, there's still a little of that out there. You know, it's funny. It's little small bands or really huge bands, right? It's like the people in the middle are like, man, it's just happy. You know, one of the best crews you can be a part of and bands you can be around backstage, especially at a festival, is the Foo Fighters. These guys are just grateful. They're so happy. They're wearing whatever you want me to wear. My pass on my forehead. I got it. I got a rock and roll pass, you know. I think that's a great way to look at it. You know, it's like they're just having a great time, and we're blessed enough to be doing this for work, right?
Yes.
Man, I've had some horrible jobs. I have friends that have really horrible jobs. I mean, like, I couldn't imagine waking up every day and at the same time going to the same place, looking at the same people, you know, like being excited because it's Bagel Monday. That's just not me, man. Like we got a great life here.
Yes.
You know, it's not as bad as it is, you know. It's just, let's just all get along and have some understanding and care about some stuff. And then again, like I always say, know what's going on. You know, like, you don't know the whole story. There's a couple sides to every story. You know, I know we're good on seeing the end of a thing and making our decision, but man, there's so much stuff goes into every incident. You know, things get out of control really quick. I use that as a mantra. You know, it's like my decisions and the way I handle things affect everything. And, you know, so my guys, and like I said, you've met a few of them, and I don't care if I got guys that were in Fallujah. I got guys that are hardcore. 2 years ago were combat Marines, but they care and they're compassionate and they love music. You know, and that's like the three things I have. And they can communicate. A couple of them aren't great at the old communication things. There's some grunts involved, but you know,
they'll learn.
They're security guys.
Well, coming from
we all struggle.
Me, I was 18 on work tour. And learning what security guards were from you. It's really cool to have you on here and get to have a nice formal talk, because, you know, my first interactions with you were you kicking me out of a pit, as I probably shouldn't have been there. And then I learned that you weren't all that scary, and you probably just learned a lot from you over, you know, when you started saying hi to me on Warped Tour, I was like, I fucking did it, guys. The guy in the mule said hey, and he doesn't hate me, and he said I could come into the photo pit for So it's cool.
I was always intimidated by you. Like, oh my God, this guy, look at his good looks, and smooth head, and professionalism.
Hey, well,
no, you know, and that's why I love that tour. You know, it brings people together that would never be together. I'm a good old boy. You know, I like country music and playing with dogs and building fence lines for deer and stuff. But I go out on Warped Tour, and you know, I'm friends with people that are completely different. You know, and that's what life's all about, man. Nobody wants everybody to be the same. That'd be boring.
Neil
Right.
always talks about that.
So
He
boring.
loves that tour is just a variety of people.
I do. I'm glad that we're not all the same. And I was just going to say earlier, I'm so thankful that you are the head of a security company, you know, like someone with your mentality leading these people and directing them from what I have seen personally is the correct way to do this, you know,
Thank you. I
and
appreciate that.
it makes me stoked knowing that this is how we're going to come back into touring, knowing that people like you are running companies that are going to keep people safe and make sure that everyone has a great time and also be a fucking great person while doing that. So, you know, I'm just excited and I'm ready. I cannot tell you how willing I am. I'll go tour right now.
Yeah,
Let me out there.
Right. Well, thank you, man. I'm blushing a little bit. I appreciate that, and it's same like going with you guys, man. Like I'm just seeing the Day to Remember come from a band that I knew a guy that played drums with you guys once. One of our drivers' 6 sons, I think. And all of a sudden being like, holy shit. Look at this. Yeah. Look at all these kids falling on my head at once. I mean, it's awesome. So
at least they don't have shanks, right? Like you were saying.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and like the biker chain thing went out of style. Warped Tour got pretty easy, to tell you the truth.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even think about that. Like those are the littlest things. It's like, that was a huge fad. It's like, can you imagine like getting someone's chain wallet like stuck on your arm as you're trying to pull them off a crowd?
Put your front or your crowd surf.
You know what? Kids getting it wrapped around their heads. You got some big goon with that thing, and all of a sudden they're being choked out. Like,
oh my God.
That spikes on jackets. Oh my God. The conversations about that. And this America, I can bring my jacket anywhere. I'm like, dude, it's dangerous, man. Sorry, they're nails. And then back then, that crusty punk scene, they weren't spikes, they were nails they were putting through the jackets, So
well, let's finish this off. We have one last question. And before we get there, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate this.
Thanks for having me. You guys you have broken my podcast, Sherry. I've never done anything like this before. I mean, I've talked
awesome.
to Kevin Lyman's class a few times, but that's talking to Kevin.
We hope to kind of bring awareness and how important everything that you guys do and just how awesome it can be if everyone is just a little bit nicer. There's a lot on you guys' shoulders, and really kindness goes a long way, especially like when you're just trying to get where you're trying to go and everyone's trying to do their job. And we really hope that this podcast can kind of just shine awareness on how far that stuff can go. Thank you again for coming on here. And the last question, well, there's 2 things that we need from you. One, you've been on the road a long time. Do you use shower shoes when you're out on tour?
I'm a little bit of old school, and what you got to do is you got to pee on your feet in the shower. That gets rid of all kind of your foot fungus.
We actually were talking to Mark Hoppus, and Mark Hoppus was telling us that Madonna, she said that she did that, and then he looked it up and he said it's not, I don't know. He said it doesn't kill anything in the shower, but
warms up the floor.
Yeah.
At least.
But you can't do that. You can't do that when you're on a bus shower, though.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's a little rude.
Yeah. It's like pee in the back line. What's going on?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, Neil just took a shower. He's just peed on the floor to make sure it was safe.
In the bunk area.
I would do that. That's fine.
Well, Kenny Lee's is back there. Who knows what's happening?
You don't know, but you'll see it because that man does not move silently. It's just beast. I haven't seen him in a while.
So the answer is no. I'm not a shower shoe guy. I don't own flip flops. I own boots.
Same.
And I own sneakers. And I get up in the morning when I'm at work. I put my boots on and I take them off to shower. I put them back on and I walk to the bus and I take them off.
Hey,
good answer.
I'm right there with you. I've never worn shower shoes. I pride myself in the fact that I don't own flip flops. I'm probably like one of 18 people from Florida that doesn't. But
that's right. You're a Floridian.
Yeah, that was never me, man. I'm from Ocala. It's like farm country.
What about
out
mandals,
there,
like sandals? You ever get like those hippie sandals? Nothing like that.
I have these these slippers that I got from like Japan, and I think they're different because I'm like their culture is like you can wear like these house slippers, right? Or like these things like you take your shoes off, and so I'm like it's not sandals. It's not the same thing. I don't do the sandal thing. I don't do the flip flop thing. Like we're not ABR. or not August Burns Red, they only wear flip flops. But
It's funny.
dude, they're crazy. They do like karate kicks and shit with flip flops on them. Like you got to have like serious toe strength to fucking keep those flip flops from flying off.
That is funny.
Do those kicks and shit, you know? That's not me though. But the other thing that we need from you is our guitar player, Kevin Scaff. He created, what'd you say?
He's in Nashville now.
Oh yeah, Kevin's in Nashville. Kevin's living out east and over there near Mitchell's. Have you ever been to Mitchell's Deli?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's good stuff. Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's one of the reasons why I moved to Tennessee is for food. You know, I just recently lost almost 160 pounds.
Holy shit. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. I'm a little smaller than the last time you guys saw me. All my clothes are still like triple X's. Look at that.
I like the fit though. It looks cool.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's the style.
Yeah. But yeah, when I first moved to Nashville, between that place and your hot chicken and barbecue, and holy crap, I gained so much weight. Then throw in, you're just, every place you go, there's a new whiskey, and man, I gained some weight.
I am currently working on getting my weight off. It's like not being on the road and not being photographed has really done a number for me, because I'm like, I can eat this. I'll have an extra piece of garlic bread. It's fine. We just opened like a biscuit restaurant. I'm eating all these biscuits and shit. We don't
go to Florida. Try his biscuits.
Yeah, next time you're in town, you'll have to come visit. We have a vegan restaurant, so if you have any people that are searching for vegan,
my boss loves that vegan stuff.
If you're searching for vegan stuff in Orlando, come visit us. We'll set you up. I've been just gaining weight. That was one of the cool things about being on tour with the photographer is right away. You're like, damn, I look getting a little big here. I need to go on the treadmill.
That's funny because that's what got me to gain weight, man. I saw videos of when I first started with Billy. I was coming off 5 Finger Death Punch, and I was about half a bottle of Jim Beam a night on that tour, and I was just, oh my God, I had that horrible swollen. I couldn't move. I couldn't walk upstairs, and all my friends were dying because they're old security guys. My wife was mad at me. Whew, she was fired up, because everybody was dying, right? She's like, you better get your shit together. And then
she's like, I want to spend some time with you.
Then I started working with a vegan. Boom. Shit just started disappearing, to tell you the truth.
Awesome.
Yeah. Things just, and, I don't really drink that much anymore because she's underage. And it was the perfect time it came together, and it took about 2 years, but.
That's awesome.
Well, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
It's not an easy task, especially with all this going on and the stress and everything that we're dealing with, especially in your industry, keeping people safe during this time. I can imagine it'd be easy to just be like, oh, fuck it, I'm eating this shit. I eat to make myself feel better in those situations. A little stress. I'm like, I'm gonna have some pancakes.
And now Uber Eats and all that stuff.
Oh shit!
Man, you get a couple Big Macs in 20 minutes. No problem. You don't have to leave your room. Kevin Scaff, take it away.